Hello. In this video, we're going to look at multiplying and dividing expressions. And some of you are probably already familiar with multiplying and dividing. But let's just quickly look at these key ideas here. And you should be writing all key ideas into your bound reference. Remember, you shouldn't be told what to do. You should automatically know what to do. So when you see key ideas, make sure you do write them in your bound reference, and also any examples. So make sure you have a look at the examples and also write them in, and you can press play and you can watch them as you write them in if you like. Okay, so your key ideas, basically the most important are the first three. So when you multiply, well, here we have two pronumerals, A and B, but you could have a number as well. We just get rid of the multiply sign. So we just write it as AB. So it's kind of an implied multiply in between there. And then you've got division. A divided by B is written as A over B. So instead of writing it as a division here, we write it as a fraction. And then A times A, we write as A squared. So hopefully you're already familiar with those three. The other dot point, so the fourth dot point here, basically saying it doesn't matter what order you do it in. So here we've got AB, but you could have BA, and it's exactly the same thing, because you should know their example here is 2 times 7 is the same as 7 times 2. So we get 14 and 14. So in multiplication, the order doesn't matter. But in maths, we tend to write the coefficient first. So you can see here we have 3 and the pronumeral second. So we write 3A. And also we tend to write it in alphabetical order. So you can see here we've got AB, but there's nothing wrong with writing BA. Okay, so the fifth point is basically saying brackets aren't needed. So if you've got lots of multiplying, the order doesn't matter, and also the brackets are irrelevant, because when you multiply 3 or 2 or 3, 4, whatever numbers, you're going to get the same answer. So if I did 2 times 5 times 10, I'm going to get the same answer if I did 5 times 10 times 2 or 10 times 5 times 2. So it doesn't matter about brackets when you're multiplying. Here it's just saying numbers should be written first, pronumerals second. Yes, I've already said that. And let me just see the last one. When dividing, any common factor in the numerator and denominator can be cancelled. So basically it's just saying here that you should give your answer in the most simplified form. All right, let's have a look at some questions. All right, I'm going to skip. So I think the first one set for you is question 4, which is pretty easy peasy Japanesey. Let's move to question 5. So we're going to do just a few of them, because it is pretty straightforward, and we'll get into the harder ones. So the first one, we've got 2 times x. Remember, we write 2x. And this one here, 5p. So if you want to, just think of your letters as objects. So if we think of p as pencils, we don't say, I need to buy 5 times pencils. You just say, I need to buy 5 pencils. So there's kind of an implied multiply there, as you would if you were going to buy 5 pencils. You don't say 5 times pencils, you just say 5 pencils. Let's skip a few. Okay, so here we have 2 numbers and a letter. So let's get the coefficient first. So 7 times 4 is 28, and then F. Okay, let's do H. Okay, so you can see we've got 2 times B times 5. So we always put the coefficient first. So we'll do 2 times 5, which is 10, and then B. And let's just do the last one for the fun of it. So we've got 7 times 4 is 28, and then we've got X and Z. So keeping them in alphabetical order. Now, with these, remember what I said, the order doesn't matter. So that's the same as saying x2. Okay, but in maths it looks a bit weird. So we just keep to putting the numbers first and then the letter. And And if you think about it, we don't say pencils 5. Okay, so remember the example I used before, we say 5 pencils, we wouldn't say pencils 5. So even though it's the same thing, we tend to write the number first. Another thing I picked up when marking your tests last week, please don't write your X like that, because your X like that looks exactly the same as my multiply sign. And these are two separate things. So your X needs to be drawn with curves. So I can see easily the difference between an X and a multiply sign. So if you're currently doing your X's like that, try to get into the habit of writing it like that. And even if, you know, in English, let's say you were writing fox, okay, there's anything wrong with that. That's nice handwriting, easy to read, but try to do your X's differently from this point forward. All right, let's move on to question 6. Okay, so same deal here. Now we've got a coefficient in front of our pronumeral. So we just basically, and you don't have to do this for each one, but remember there's an implied multiply there. So that's the same if I expanded that term. So 3 times a times 12 is the same as 3a times 12. So we can multiply the 3 and the 12 to get 36, and then a. Okay, so we've got 36 apples. And that's like saying, I don't know, so there's 3 apples in a bag and I want 12 bags worth. So how many apples do I have altogether? I've got 26. Okay, let's look at the second one. So you don't have to expand it like I've done here. You can just go straight forward and do your 7 times 9. Please don't rely on your calculator. Okay, so you should know your times tables, and then we'd put the D, so 63D. If you like, and you wrote down a number and you thought, oh, I just want to check it using the calculator, that's fine, but please don't rely on your calculator, because these basic number skills are what you need. Okay, let's move on. Let's look at E. So in E, we've got a coefficient and a pronumeral, coefficient and a pronumeral. So let's do our coefficients first, so the 4 and the 3. So 4 times 3 is 12, and then A and B. So remember, we write them in alphabetical order. All right, let's have a look at H. So H, we've got 4D, and then we've got 7AF. Now, if you like, you can expand it like I've done here, but you don't really need to. You should be able to do this sort of thinking in your head. So 4 times 7 is 28. And let's put things in alphabetical order. So you can write DAF if you want to, but you should be putting things in alphabetical order. And if you wrote 28 DAF, I would not mark that wrong, because that is correct. Okay, there is nothing wrong with that. And I want to emphasize that, because I don't think that you should ever be punished for writing it not in alphabetical order. This is just a nicer way of writing it, okay? So there's nothing different between these two. No, one is not right and the other one wrong. It's just a better way of writing it and how we kind of write it in maths. All right, let's do one more. Let's do K. So here we've got 4 times 3 times 5. Now, if you like, you can write your coefficients together and then write your pronumerals. So D, E, F, G. Now, you can write times D times E, but I know in the end it's going to be D, E, F, G. And then I can do this. So 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 5 is 60. So we have 60, D, E, F, G. If you find that you can't do 4 times 3, which is 12, 12 times 5, just think you can split it up and do 3 times 5, which is 15, and then 15 times 4. Or you can do 4 times 5, which is 20, 20 times 3 is 60. So you don't always have to go from left and right in your multiplication. Sometimes it's easier to, and in this case, the easiest one would be to do 4 times 5, which is 20, and then multiply the 3 to give you 60. All right. There's heaps there. I'd like you to do them all. There's a lot. Oh, actually, let's not move on just yet because I can see here. Okay, so a times a, remember a squared, that third dot point in the key idea is 2k squared. Here we've got 6 times 2, so it's going to be 12x squared. Here we'll just finish off, so we've got 36r squared. All right, let's move into the division. Okay, so if you want to pause there and finish question 6, you can, or you can keep watching, up to you. Okay, so remember we don't use a division sign, we use what's called a vinculum. Okay, so x over 5, let's skip. Okay, let's do x divided by y, x over y. Here we've got brackets. So the brackets are extremely important. Okay, so in multiplication, it doesn't matter, but well, it does matter, but for this one, it doesn't matter. But here it's extremely important because what we have in brackets, 4x plus 1, is basically your numerator. And then when you see the division, that's when you put your vinculum in, and then 5. And even if you put this on your calculator, and it's probably just early days and you wouldn't be putting it in your calculator yet, but if you didn't put brackets in your calculator, what your calculator would read that as is this. Okay, and they're two separate things. Okay, so please, if you have multiple terms, you should be using brackets. You don't have to put brackets there on your numerator because it's already up there. But if you do it on your calculator, so I'm just going to cross it out because they're not equal. If you do it on your calculator, do use brackets because this is not equal to this. Okay, let's scroll down a bit and do some more. Okay, let's look at K. So here we've got 2 brackets. So this is basically your numerator, the 2 plus x, and the other bracket is your denominator. And there it is. All right, let's skip to question 8 now. All right, so this one here, we're doing some cancelling. Okay. Basically, if you see something on the top and it's also on the bottom, it cancels out. So that's because, let's just use an example of the number 5. Okay, so if we had 5 divided by 5, that's 1. So if I had x over x, that is also 1. So basically what this is becoming is this x, and the x becomes 1. And the x's disappear because they've disappeared here. So whatever number you have on the numerator, if it's divided by the same number on the denominator, then it's equal to 1. So that's when we say it cancels out, it basically cancels out because they're equal to 1. Okay, so the first one, and usually we mark them out. So if you're writing it on your page, you should be crossing them out. So let's have a look at question C, 9ab over 4b. Okay, so the b's cancel out, and I'm left with 9a over 4. You don't have to put that into a mixed number, just keep it as an improper fraction. But when you get to questions like E, so we have 2x over 4. Remember that 2 and the 4 can be simplified. So you basically have to do your working out on your page with your fraction, and it's just more efficient maths. You can go on and write some more, but basically 2 is common to 2 and 4. So we say, okay, that 2 divided by 2 gives you 1, and 4 divided by 2 gives you 2. So we're left with, oops, we're now left with 1x on 2. And usually we don't write the 1 there, so we just write x on 2. Okay, I'm going to clear that and do some more examples here because these ones are a little bit trickier. Okay, let's look at F, 9x over 12. So let's do our cancelling first. So what number goes into both 9 and 12? So we've got 3. So 9 divided by 3 gives you 3, and 12 divided by 3 gives you 4. So when we rewrite that, we write 3x over 4. All right, let's look at another one. Let's do 21x over 7xj. 21x over 7x. Okay, so first of all, I can see I can eliminate my pronumeral x, and the 21 over 7, if you want to write that again, you can. But this is basically saying 21 divided by 7. So how many times does 7 go into 21? It's 3. So you could say here what number goes into both 21 and 7. So you can say 21 divided by 7 is 3 and 1. And you might say, well, that's 3 over 1. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we tend to just write the number 3 because 3 divided by 1 is 3. Okay, so either way is perfectly fine. All right, let's scroll down and do some other ones. Let's go to black first. Let's see, let's do k. So we've got 4xy over 2x. Okay, let's see, what can you cancel out? We can cancel out the x's. And we're left with 4y on 2. You can keep doing your cancelling out here, or you can rewrite that as 4y on 2 if you like. But I know that 2 goes into 4. Okay, so that cancels out. Or you can say 4 divided by 2 here, and you get 2y. So in maths, we kind of do the most efficient way by doing everything at the same time, but there's nothing wrong with writing it as you go along. Okay, now I did set question 9 for you. So let's go through question 9. Let's get my pen. Write a simplified expression for the area of the following rectangles. So here's your area formula. Now remember, this is just the area formula for the area of a rectangle. If you're doing a different shape, it has a different formula. So a lot of students think that this formula applies to all shapes. It's just for rectangles. Okay, so here, area, you can say your width is, actually we'll do the number first. The width is 3 times k, so we have 3k. B, we have 6 times x, so 6x. And then for C, we have 3x times 4y. Now see there what I've done with my x and my multiplying. Okay, so I can see the difference between the two of them. 3 times 4 is 12, and then put the pronumeral xy. Now it'd be a good idea to continue going with these worded questions. Okay, even if you just did 10 and 11, and do ask for help if you need it. All right, guys, bye-bye.